Hey guys, I'm here with Bernice King. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
You know, our ancestors' wildest dreams have come to fruition here tonight at the Black Women in Media Awards. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good, and I'm glad to be a part of this, especially receiving the Harriet Tubman Award, the first, I understand. My mother had a real fascination with her, and I'll mention that on tonight. I think it's great that we're able to acknowledge, you know, the contributions of women in media and other ways today, especially when so often in history women have been overlooked and not recognized.
Right, that part right there. And it's such an honor to have you here tonight, and it's a pleasure to be sitting here with you. And you know, I want to know, your company, Nonviolence 365, focuses on empowering and educating the youth. And I want to know, how do you keep them inspired towards making a better future for our community?
Well, you know, we spend time really teaching them my father's philosophy and methodology of nonviolence. And we help them to understand how young people in the movement use this philosophy and methodology to bring about social change. I think when you're talking about history for young people, you got to connect the dots to something that they can relate to. And when they become aware that people their age were standing up, speaking up, sacrificing, then it inspires them to say, okay, well, I'm not too young and I can make a difference because I, meaning people who were like me years and years and years ago before I got here, were doing it. And so we try to uplift that, especially because people forget over and over again, those were not old people. My father was 26 when he started, you know, and when you fast forward to Birmingham in 1963, they were as young as 7 and 8 when those water hoses and billy clubs and dogs were sicked on them. And so we try to teach it to them in that way and break it down, hopefully to inspire them to see that you can be the change that's needed in this world.
And speaking about your father's legacy and you carrying on this legacy, you know, we've come such a long way as a community. And so I really want to know, what is your hopes for the future for our community within this country?
Well, I mean, my first hope is that we will realize that we really have been chosen as a race to raise the consciousness of this nation, in many respects to save the soul of America, and that we tap into that energy, the spirit of those who came before us, who always knew that they had a responsibility to really make a difference and help to elevate the nation. If I would say anything, it would say, you know who you are. You're not here by mistake. You have a special calling. If we're going to overcome most of the social ills in our world, it's going to be through our community. I really believe that. We're the most forgiving people. We're the most inclusive people. We're holistically the most loving people. We're the most compassionate people. We're the most understanding people collectively as a race. And when we pull all of that together and we can focus our energies on combating the things that are trying to diminish us, we can make a tremendous difference. And we cannot stop reminding this country that there's a debt to be paid to us. So, you know, everybody else has been getting from this nation. We still have not gotten what is due to us. And so we don't need to stop that pursuit. So my hope is that we will actively pursue reparations in a way that is realistic, because just a cash payment is not going to do it. That's part of it. But there are other things and other ways that this country can redeem us and give us, you know, they could give home ownership could be interest-free for years,
right?
For instance,
right?
You know how much, because that's where we build wealth.
Exactly.
Imagine not having to pay the interest, pay down the principal quicker.
We have come such a long way, and we have a long way to go, and we're so honored to have you here tonight. And you have such a beautiful soul and aura and presence, and just thank you for being here, sitting down with us here today. I'm so excited for you to continue talking about your father's legacy, you building the legacy of your own, so thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Keep believing, sister, till the victory is won. Till that day comes, let us march on till victory is won. Is won.
The next category we have is activism. And this category honors the freedom fighters who are on the front lines fighting for justice, fighting for freedom, and making sure that whatever happens, you and I will be able to continue to live, fight for equity, and achieve the freedom that we all deserve. So I want to start by honoring Dr. Bernice A. King. Dr. King is a true queen carrying a king's legacy, but not just any king, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Tonight, as befitting as it is, she is receiving the Harriet Tubman Award. And of course, if you do not know who Dr. King is, she is an orator, she is a peace advocate, she is a global thought leader and the CEO of the King Center. And it is through her work at the center that she educates youth and adults around the world about the nonviolent principles modeled by both of her parents, Coretta Scott King and Dr. Martin Luther King. Without further ado, Dr. King, if you can please, she is here. Please give it up. Round of applause for Dr. Bernice King.
Wow. You know, today is a very difficult day for me. 15 years ago, 14, I'm trying to get it right. 14 years ago, my sister Yolanda Denise King passed, and today is her birthday. She would have been 66 years of age, and she was an actress. And I know, without a doubt, she would have been here tonight supporting me. And so I honor her tonight with this award. And I'm honored to be among so many great honorees. Although I'm not a woman in media, except for a little stint I had at Grinnell College as a DJ. I tried my hand at it. And of course, trying to lift my voice every day through social media to elevate us above the noise of the divisiveness and the polarization in this country, and to bring a sense of humanity and sanity back to our world. And so I want to thank Judith and Black Women in Media for this award. And speaking of Black women, we've always been a force in the freedom struggle. We haven't gotten the credit so often as we should have. If the truth be told, the movement that my father was catapulted into leadership started because a group of women, the Women's Political Council, had been looking for an opportunity to boycott the buses in Montgomery because of all of the harassment and mistreatment and lack of dignity that so many Black citizens had been victim to. And so it was those Black women who said this was the time when a Black woman refused to give up her seat on that bus. There were Black women in the strategy sessions with my father, including the one who is the reason why we even celebrate, remember a man who shifted the paradigm in this nation, my father. It was my mother who really is the architect of the King legacy, who built the largest social brand in the world, social change brand in the world, that people are continuing to draw from. And so tonight I honor her, and she is looking down with my father and my sister on this moment. And God has an amazing sense of humor, because this is no accident, what is happening here tonight, receiving the Black Woman in Media Harriet Tubman Award, the first one. When I received this invitation, it was on the heels of a conversation that I was having with an older gentleman who today turned 90 years of age, who lives in Rhinebeck, New York. This gentleman happened to be the person who my mother brought us to when my father was assassinated, to kind of check on us mentally. And I want to put a plug there. There's nothing wrong in the African American community with us seeing psychologists and psychiatrists. It does not mean you're crazy. And so this gentleman, Dr. Albert Crum, was telling me 2 days before I got the invitation from Judith that my mother had a fascination for Harriet Tubman. I didn't even know. She never shared that. It was a private fascination, and she journeyed here on a few occasions, and with Dr. Crum was able to visit Harriet Tubman's tomb, the room where she died, and really asked some very critical questions about Harriet Tubman. And I remember so often when I would speak around this nation, lifting up the name of Harriet Tubman in particular, because I've always felt that we're living beneath what God created us to be in this world. That if we only knew who we are as kings, queens, and in biblical terms, kings and priests, if we would walk in the authority that God has given us, there's no weapon, no evil, and no injustice that can overtake and diminish us. And so I used to say to people, Harriet Tubman, and I'm paraphrasing, said she could have freed more slaves if she could have convinced them that they were slaves. And so as I received this award, I know what my assignment continues to be. It's to continue to be that Black woman that continues that freedom struggle, that understands what my mother said when she said struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and you win it in every generation. And so as the forces of darkness are seeking to challenge our freedoms today, freedom to prosper in life, freedom to peacefully coexist, freedom to participate in government, with the threat on voting rights, with the rise of attack under the smokescreen of CRT, with the threat of the looming threat of shortages even in the food supply and the food chain, with the fact that people are just wanting to have a livable wage. I know my job is to continue to lift my voice and to fight for people to understand that we have the power and the authority to overrule all of that. And that we can do it through what my father taught us, which is nonviolence, which is a way of life, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of engaging, it's a way of speaking that brings about personal, societal, and cultural transformation. And so I thank Sister Harriet for what she did through her perception to bring people out of bondage, to bring people out of enslavement. I thank Harriet Tubman for lifting her voice and making sacrifices. I thank Coretta Scott King for the work that she did to liberate so many people and to elevate the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in this nation, and to continue to tout the importance of creating the beloved community. And so I go forth in that strength and in that power in the name of Jesus to do my part in this generation so that we can continue to enjoy the freedom that God has given us on this green earth. So God bless you and thank you once again.